abandoning fear. Often in A Course in Miracles it talks about letting go of fear, giving up fear. And I often talk as well about stopping choosing fear and choosing love instead. But I like the word abandoned, and where it came from was I was looking at a Portuguese translation of A Course in Miracles in lesson 23 where it talks about letting go of fear, and instead they used the word abandonar to talk about letting go, abandonada, in fact, which is let go. And I thought, well, that's interesting. That sounds a bit stronger. Are we going to abandon fear in our life? Are we going to desert fear? And because we often talk about if you're abandoning something is like you're giving up something that you really are attached to in some way or were attached to give up ideas, to abandon a friend, to desert someone is quite a strong kind of word. And I thought, well, abandoning fear, it almost means that at some point we think of fear as a friend, that fear was our friend and now we're deserting fear and giving it up. And that's in fact what we're doing, because fear has become part of our identity. It's almost become our friend. In fact, sometimes we don't even know when we're choosing fear because it feels loving when it's actually not. And so abandoning fear is what we're going to have to do at some point. We're going to have to desert it. And it's not really so much of a making an effort about that. It's not really a thinking thing or an intellectual thing. It really becomes an experience. It becomes a desire deep within ourselves. And we find that we no longer tolerate fear. That really we've walked away and we've given up our ego. All that's left maybe is the old patterns of the ego, the old patterns and habits of fear. And they may appear and still come into our lives, but in some ways we have turned our back on fear. And so we always have to obviously develop new patterns and new habits of choosing love. But I think we've all got to that stage where we're looking at our fear and we're saying, I don't want you anymore. And we stop choosing fear. And we've said goodbye to fear. Now we just have to deal with all those patterns and habits that sometimes continue afterwards. But I like this idea of abandoning fear. And at some point in our lives, we'll have abandoned fear so much that the patterns don't come up again, that the old habits and thinking and ways of looking at life that are fearful, those will no longer bother us, because we've completely developed the new habits and the new acceptance of love in our lives. Thank you. I thought I would share that insight and inspiration about abandoning. Thank you.